WCLN 1170 Radio and Star Communications Channel 16 proudly present the We Should Know Show, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative. Now, here's your host, JW Simmons, as we consider closely what we should know.
Welcome back. We Should Know is on there. I want to thank you for being with us today. We come to you from Star Communications TV Channel 16, also simulcast on WCLN Radio. We've got a very interesting show today, some things that are happening this time of the year throughout the area. And I'll use the region of the counties that we serve and folks listen or watch the show. And that's the world of education. We have two people that's been involved in education for quite a few years. I want to start with Dr. Linda Brunson, who is the chair of the Clinton City School Board. And I want to just mention these positions very quickly. Substitute teacher, teacher assistant principal, principal, central office personnel, assistant and associate superintendent, and instructional coach. Dr. Brunson, you've done it a little bit all, and now you chair the board that makes policies for the city schools. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
And of course, a name that I don't think he really needs any introduction, but that's the superintendent, Dr. Wesley Johnson. Wesley, it's interesting because a lot of your background in the classroom has been in education, but it's been within the county school system. So to say that you are marinated and have a perpetual footprint in education in this area would be an understatement. But I just want to mention a couple of things. 2023, you were Superintendent of the Year, representing 15 school districts in southeastern North Carolina. You've served as a math teacher. One thing that you've served as, and we don't mention it that much, but also you're a coach. You have coached before, and you truly have a passion for that. We've talked about that off camera a bit. You served as a teacher, assistant principal, director, and assistant superintendent. But you finally found what I would say is kind of your spot with the city schools. I mean, not only have you made a mark, but I would say it's kind of indelible. Dr. Brunson, would you agree with that?
I would. He's been with us for 8 years, beginning 8 years.
Yeah.
And, we enjoy his leadership, and we depend on him to run our district in the day-to-day situation. He does a great job with that. And
that's important. And one of the things you said, lead the district, is he's led superintendents in the region to work around accountability and school grade reform efforts in the state of North Carolina. So he's not only does he do that here, I just want to make folks understand, Wesley, you've got a footprint in the larger regional area with schools. So when we start talking about today, the discussion about public schools, expectations, funding, all of those kinds of things, it's clearly on the calendar of issues. But let's start with the idea of looking at 25-26 school year. You guys have got the budget laid out. You see what you've got to deal with on paper. Dr. Johnson, you understand and have faced this every day, that what's on paper is not necessarily reality all the time. You got to tweak and play with that. And I think from a governance point of view, I'll start it with this. What is the biggest concern sitting in that seat as the chair of the board of governance for you to say, I'm really not looking forward to this, or this is something we got to work on, or I know this is going to be a storm? What is the biggest concern?
Right. I think right now, and the biggest concern would be uncertainty, right? We do have some federal funds that have been released that we have received in our district, but they're not 100%. And when it's the federal government chooses not to fund schools, then it trickles down to the state and then trickles down to the local. Mm-hmm. That trickles down to the children, right? Mm-hmm. So my biggest concern is the uncertainty. Will we get additional cuts? Will we get fully funded? What changes will we have to make mid-year or 6 weeks from now that may negatively impact the children and what the services that we can provide for them? So I'd say the uncertainty of what may come in the future.
Wesley, when you look at that from the superintendent's point of view, you've got all these teachers, you got all these principals out there, and they're looking at you to solve this problem. How do you navigate when you're not sure? I'll use an analogy. It's almost like going on a trip, and you know you've got a full tank of gas right now, but you really don't know how many times you're going to have to detour. You don't know if there's a service station there. I'm using that as an analogy so people can see it, and I'm hoping that's a way to do it. But you really don't know 3 months, 6 months from now. You know right now because you can see it on paper. What are you looking at? What are the signals that you would call the chair and say, we got an issue, versus her calling you?
Right. No, I think Dr. Brunson did a good job of talking about uncertainty. And the good news is that Clinton City Schools and our Board of Education have been very good stewards with our financial resources for the last several years. Of course, over the last couple of years, we had some ESSER dollars from the COVID outbreak that assisted us. Mm-hmm. For me, that question is not about the next 2 months or 6 months. I mean, I think we would be okay because we have some reserves that we could turn to. Not that we want to do that, but that if we needed them, they're there. I guess my biggest concern is, where are we at next year at this time? Right. Where are we at 18 months from now? Yeah. And we've seen some of this, as Dr. Brunson noted, with the federal money being held. What does next year look like? Mm-hmm. And so as we begin to we're here, the 25-26 school year. By the time this video shows, it'll already be on us. Right. But what does the 26-27 school year look like? Mm-hmm. And that's where my mind is already at. Mm-hmm. So already thinking kind of like a year ahead of time.
Well, one of the things that strikes me too, as you mentioned that, is I recall reading that the former interim superintendent here worked to negotiate pay per student, so you would have some standardized income. Was that a plus to work that out as far as budgetary, local budget analysis and that kind of thing?
Talking about the financial matters?
Yes.
Yeah. So absolutely, that was a milestone for us to be able to work with our interim county manager, yes, Jeff Hudson, and to get that funding formula in place. I've been like you said, in this business. This is getting ready to start my 28th year. We've never had a funding formula in Sampson County. And so it definitely solidified some of the unknowns, because now you know what this number is, or what the number is going to be. And that helps you with your planning purposes as you get to January. Because in January, we'll already be making significant plans for the 26-27 school year. But having that number, knowing what that number is going to be instead of getting that number in May, is going to be monumental for us as we make those preparations.
When we look at things, Linda, I look a lot at what, if people in the position that you're in and Dr. Johnson is, you look at it and you look at it from the sense of, what should I expect? What's the anticipated things? You could say, well, if we had a storm and lost 2 schools, or, maybe we have some kind of a horrible disease hits the schools, or maybe something happens, like nobody can really process this, but they're going to shut down the U.S. Department of Education, so take it any way you want to. How do you kind of visually understand and prepare for what Wesley's talking about, which is looking even further than 25, 26 down the road? How do you prepare for that? And is there a way to prepare for that unknown? Do you go through some strategies and go, just think about the most crazy thing that could happen, and it happens? Because I see that happening now and hear from a lot of folks, never would have imagined this would happen, but it's happening.
Right. I just think you have to always be aware that it can happen. And I think that's the first start, knowing that you could have an issue. We look at our budget quarterly. We don't wait till June or, December, but we get a quarterly report to let us know where we are in spending and where we are in income, what we've gotten in, because sometimes some of those dollars come late. We get some dollars like October, November. Well, we have to start school in August. So you have to prepare for that, because if you don't get the dollars to drop when you need them to drop, you can't tell the students you got to stay home, and the staff you got to stay home to November, right? So you have to be always aware of, what your income is and what your expenditures are, and don't try to spend it all at once, right? So you got to do it quarterly, and you can keep up with that. And like Dr. Johnson said, he's a great steward. He and his staff are great stewards of the tax dollars, right? So there's very little waste, if any waste. What we do is to benefit our children and our staff. So I would say keep an eye on it. And I read a lot. I'm on the internet. I read articles and books. And if I come across something, I thought, I wonder if Dr. Johnson needs to know this. Yeah. I'll text it to him or email it to him. He might call and say, let's talk about this, because it may be something that's going on in Charlotte or it could be New Jersey. Yeah. Wherever it is, it could trickle down to Clinton. We're not immune to what's going on in the world.
Absolutely.
So keeping up quarterly, monthly with what's going on in our district and our finances has helped us along the way. We look at every dollar as a precious dollar.
And I think one of the advantages I look at too, I look at the board that you have, govern the governance board itself. It seems to me, just looking at some of their backgrounds, you've got some folks that's very connected with the community, that probably do the same thing to you, call you and say, we need to be looking at so-and-so. The big thing I hear, Dr. Johnson, though, and I think this is on the radar for North Carolina, is this whole idea of low pay and burnout with teachers in the state. That seems to be I'm not going to say a problematic issue, but it's one that anytime I pull research up or I look for anything, it always pops at the top. Rural systems, rural landscape systems, the ability to compare them to the Wake counties or to, Linda, to what you were talking about, Charlotte, Mecklenburg, places like that. It's almost an unfair comparative analysis because you don't have the budgets. You don't have the volume of budget to look at. What I'd like to do is when we come back from this break is to talk about that a bit. Let folks know what you're seeing on your windshield and what that's saying to you in that preparation stage. What do we need to prepare for? Because burnout just simply means that the teachers are not in that classroom mentally. There's something not going on up there and it's not working. So we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking about education, not only in the city of Clinton, but education as a whole and what it means to you. We'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
Looking to refresh your home? At Clinton Appliance and Furniture, we've got everything you need to create the perfect space. We're here to help make your house a home with stylish furniture, appliances, flooring, design services, delivery, and repair. Visit ClintonAppliance.com to explore our selection or visit us at 401 Northeast Boulevard in Clinton. Shop local. Shop smart. Shop Clinton Appliance and Furniture.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
At Fisher's, it's not just about fashion. It's about exceptional service. Experience top-notch customer care and find your perfect look. Visit Fisher's today and feel the difference.
At the Reedy Mark, we take pride in a unique, distinguished customer experience. We specialize in handcrafted cocktails, allocated bourbons, as well as gourmet signature food items exclusive to our menu at the Reedy Mark in Roseboro.
The average American household has 17 devices connected to the internet. With more and more devices able to get online, you may need to increase your internet speed. Call Star Communications today and let us help you select the package that's right for you.
Independence is priceless, but peace of mind makes it possible. With Star Alert, your loved ones stay connected and protected 24/7. With just the simple press of a button, their information and location are sent to emergency operators. Star Alert gives you or your loved one immediate access to emergency help at home or on the go. Sign up during the month of August and get free installation. Call 800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to get started.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. JW Simmons here, your host. The name of the show is We Should Know. We come to you on Star Communication TV, also WCLN Radio, airing at 2:30 each and every week, simulcast from the TV station to the radio station at 2:30. Then there's a replay on TV at 7 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays, Channel 16. Tune us in. It's uploaded to YouTube as well, so if you happen to miss it and you're living in some other part of the state, country, or other part of the world, you can pick this up on YouTube. So our guest today is all about education, and we're talking with Dr. Linda Brunson, chair of the Clinton City Schools, and Superintendent Wesley Johnson, Clinton City Schools, with the background in education in the county as well. So we've got a couple of folks here that's really educating us today about some of the particularities within the system. And one of those is this whole idea of low pay, particularly for employees and teachers in the system. Both of you have performed those roles. You know how that feels. The word that's also used in some of the literature is burnout, which just simply means that educators are maybe feeling not only neglected, but their sense of self-worth, value. Let's talk about that for a minute. And I got a lot of other things I'd like to touch on, but let's talk about that. Where are we at when we look at this thing? Dr. Johnson, I'll start with you with the rural landscape, because you've been a key leader with superintendents in this rural landscape in the whole southeastern part of North Carolina. Is this something everybody's facing? And where are we, and how do we kind of hold steady and stay the course?
Yes, sir. I believe that, in the rural settings of North Carolina, especially, there are differences, as you were talking about before we went to break, between the metropolitan areas or the city areas and the rural districts. I think probably a good time to discuss how we receive our monies. So, in education, we receive our monies in different buckets. A lot of people would say 3 buckets. I would probably add a 4th. So we have money from the feds, we have money from the state, and we have our local money. And then I would add, we also have child nutrition money. So it's federal, but you get it in a different bucket. I can't touch necessarily child nutrition to affect the school level operations of the building. And so when you don't have a huge tax base like a Wilmington or a Charlotte or a Raleigh or a Durham or Greensboro, Winston-Salem, you are relying heavily on those state and federal funds. We are lucky here in Clinton City that we have a local supplemental tax that assists us with some things that the county doesn't have. But we just don't have that tax revenue to drive those huge supplements, or like Wilmington recently, a couple of years ago, sold a hospital, and all that money got put back into their teacher education fund. They were able to fund, I think right now they have the largest supplement of all school systems in North Carolina because of this huge sale of this hospital that they had. But I think honestly that we do a good job in Clinton City Schools of having a supplement that is fair and consistent with others across the region. And then we also try to do some incentive things. We have an attendance bonus that we do for all of our classified and certified employees. If they miss less than 4.5 days per semester, they will receive a $500 bonus. So they have an opportunity to receive an extra $1,000 throughout the school year by not missing more than 9 days. And then we do some things with a certified supplement as well. Not all systems have a certified supplement. So we try to do as much as we can to prevent burnout and and then we do a lot of things culturally, because if you can maintain a good culture and you can have a place that people love to call home and that they want to be at work, hopefully you can offset some of these things that they can make more money in Wilmington, but the culture, not saying that the culture is bad, but if the culture is bad, you're not going to want to come to work there. And so for me, I think trying to make sure that we treat our employees like family, we talk about that constantly, and just maintaining a positive culture, I think tries to offset some of these not having the money of some of these larger metropolitan areas.
Linda, he mentioned culture a couple of times there, so that means I got to follow up on it. I want to just kind of get your thoughts on that idea and what that means, because that's very important as it relates not only to public education, but economic development, people moving to Clinton, and why would they do that, or move to Bladen County, or wherever it is they're looking at the rural landscape. When you talk to people, and when the board looks at some of these issues, because you basically set the parameters of how he operates.
That's right.
So as the board looks at this, is this an issue that you guys look at and go, well, maybe we need to do this, maybe we need to concern ourselves with this policy, or those kinds of things? How prevalent is that in board discussions?
Right. Yeah, we're always thinking about how we do things around here, right? The culture is how we do things around here. I was encouraged Tuesday when we had our convocation that a lot of the new employees were dark horses. They graduated from Clinton High School, just like I did, and came back. They may have been in Raleigh or Charlotte or Durham or Chapel Hill or someplace, but they came back home because we do have that family atmosphere, and we don't have those supplements that those larger districts have. But sometimes it's not all about money either. It's some of our teachers may need the family support, their personal family support, to help out with babysitting or help out with the children, or the grandmother may not be well, that they come back home to do that. But for whatever reason it is, they're coming back to Clinton City Schools, and it's not a huge supplement, but we try to provide those. And we're probably the only district, or one of the only districts, that has a supplement for non-certified teachers. Our custodians, our clerks, our child nutrition, all of our employees get a supplement, which is additional money that the state doesn't provide, right? We use our local dollars to do that. And part of that is retention. Right? We use that when we're recruiting, to let them know not only do we have a family atmosphere, but we're looking out for your well-being. And our principals know that. They do things in their schools that make sure that teachers and staff understand that we're not just here as a job, right? We have a responsibility to the children. And so I think that helps us some, that to build that culture. And then they'll tell somebody. They'll tell, a friend that's at UNCW that's getting ready to graduate. You might want to come to Clinton. This is what they do in Clinton. So I think our own reputation is our best recruiter.
Wesley, back on this culture thing for a minute as well. Okay, when you look at that from superintendent's point of view, you do look at all of those different functions that Linda just mentioned, but also the retention reality of that. If a job comes up in the county schools or in Harnett or Bladen or wherever, do you think the parameters are there when you look at the comparable parameters of salary and actual money to cause somebody to leave or to stay the course? I mean, I get culture and I think it's critically important, but all of a sudden if somebody says, well, I can make 10% more, 20% more doing the same thing somewhere else, they might just say, well, I'm going to try that because they're still under state retirement system, Right. How do you face that as an issue, or you don't see that as a concern?
Well, I think, definitely with what you were sharing there, if you're looking at moving up, I don't think there's a lot of people that leave Clinton City for lateral positions. Right. If they do, it's, they go because it's closer to home. They might leave Clinton to go to Lakewood because it was closer to, they live in Roseboro. I don't think we have a lot leaving for Wilmington or Cumberland or Harnett, just because of lateral positions. And so I think, for me, and one of the ways that I try to handle culture in my building, that I've been doing for years, is being available. And so, I've talked about this before, but making myself available at the school level. So, and Dr. Brunson knows this, I'm very rarely at the central office. That's just not how I run my district. And I'm lucky, honestly, to be that I only have 5 schools. I can go to a different school every day. If I was in Wake County, I'd have close to 300 schools. I could go to a different school every day for 2 years. Right. And so it's just different, being in a small district. I'm available. I try to be available for all of my staff. I know almost every staff member by their first name. I try to also know something about them personally. What are their children's names? What's their spouse's name? So that you can have a conversation with them and make them feel that, that that they matter, because they do matter, because without them, and Dr. Brunson has done a great job of in all her comments, she's talked about the child. And that's what we're here for. And so if we treat the staff a certain way, if we're setting that example of how we're having those conversations with staff, and we want to have a relationship with them, then we know that that will trickle down, and that our staff will treat the students the same way. And they'll work to develop those positive relationships with kids because they see that being modeled by their administrators and by their district administrators. And that's what we talk about with this culture, is that we're setting the example. And so that the example is for that to be modeled and shared with our students, because it's all about the students.
And one of the things that I recall reading was that when you were a teacher, that you were known as the teacher that cared. When you are now chair of the board, the governance board, one of the things that you reflected on in a recent article was that you wanted to make sure every teacher in the classroom, and I'm paraphrasing here, was a teacher that really cared. Talk to us about that, because we're talking about personnel here, and it's more than just analytics. Educate us a bit on that personal need for caring about the students, because I think without that, maybe a person maybe ought to check another block and say, maybe I need to be, I don't know, maybe I need to be a plumber or something. I don't know.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and that's important. That's important that we, like Dr. Johnson said, that we model what we expect. I care about every child in the district. I may not know them by name, I may not know where they live, but I care about them, and they have needs, and we look at the whole child, right? We just don't look at the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic. We're looking at the whole child. What do they need to survive in this environment? Is it food? Is it clothing? Is it medical? Is it a social worker? In addition to those salaries and supplements that we talked about, we also have other services. Mm-hmm. Is it speech? Do you have a speech impediment? Do we need to provide speech services for you? So that caring and providing those additional resources, I think goes a long way in how the children will flourish when we do get to the reading and the writing and the math. So I just believe one of my favorite sayings is, all of us are responsible for all of the children all the time. If you're a teacher assistant or instructional assistant, or if you're a teacher, if you're the clerk or the custodian or the principal or the assistant, it doesn't matter. When you're in that building, if someone asks you to step out of your assigned role to assist a child or a teacher or colleague or parent who just may have walked in that building, that's the expectation, that we're all responsible for all the children all the time. And I think if everybody understands that I'm not in just room 203, I'm just teaching math, I don't do all those other things. If we understand that builds that positive culture, that builds those positive relationships. And that's how we flourish, when we all are on the same page at the same time.
Dr. Johnson, as she was explaining that, which I think was a very eloquent job in doing that, that goes double for the superintendent as well. You've got to model that kind of behavior. That's got to be very weighty at times, covering all those bases.
Yeah, it's definitely, weighty. And you think about, one bad move or one wrong decision can ruin, your entire career. So you have to be mindful that all the time you're representing, Clinton City Schools. Dr. Brunson and I have talked about this. I'm the superintendent 24/7. Although I'm a dad to 3 children, 2 that go to the system. I've got 1 in college now. When I go to Food Line, I'm the superintendent. When I go to the YMCA, I'm the superintendent. And so I have to be mindful of that. And so in all of my interactions and all of my conversations, I have to be mindful that I'm the superintendent of Clinton City Schools, and that's how people see me. They don't just see me as Wesley Johnson, the dad of Inslee Johnson or Emory Johnson, but I'm the superintendent. And so that's important for me to always share and always show that side of being mindful about the needs of kids and about the needs of our district. And it's weighty, but it's one that I accepted when I became the superintendent, over 7 years ago.
It's interesting because, and I want to kind of extend this to our next segment here, but it's interesting because you are put in that position, and it's almost like you've got this camera lens following you around. I mean, let's face it, social media today, no matter where you're at, a 2-second spot and you got a frown on your face and you should have had a smile, it could be blown up into anything.
That's right.
That's got to be not only weighty, but somewhat burdensome in the sense of just kind of checking your environment. And, obviously you can't wear a tie around all the time, but the reality is you got to make sure you're prepared for those moments.
I think when you love what you do, it's really not a job. And you use the word burdensome, and that may be a word we can use, but when you love what you do, it doesn't seem like a job. It's like you're giving back and you're doing it for the benefit of others, not for yourself. So it tends not to be a burden.
We're going to continue this when we come back from break. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Welcome to Cork and Brew Roseboro, where you can enjoy your favorite coffee, fraps, smoothies, bakery items, sandwiches, and select beer and wines while reconnecting with friends and family. Sit down and enjoy the experience. Come on by and give us a try.
This year, when you get together with friends, we hope you have a great time. Just remember to drink responsibly and know your limits.
Man, let me have your keys.
And always have a safe way home. Enjoy responsibly and always plan ahead.
Since our inception, we have distributed in food and supplies over $3 million worth out of Salemburg, North Carolina. And people always ask us, what can we do to help? So Norman has got some little slide cards here so we can tell you what we do need and maybe, as importantly, what we don't need.
Absolutely.
So, what we do need is soup. Canned soup, ramen. What we do not need is hair tonic or hairspray. There's only one of us that uses hair tonic, and he has an ample supply. But we do need rice. We distribute rice every month. Bag rice, box rice, yellow rice, white rice, don't make any difference. We need rice all the time. What we don't need is live pigs. If you want to have that pig ready to barbecue, we can use that. But we do need canned vegetables. We'll take corn, beans, any kind of canned vegetables. We distribute about 2,000 cans of vegetables every month. What we don't need is chia pets. Sometimes early in the morning, Norman looks like a chia pet, so we don't need, particularly before he puts his hair tonic on. But we do need peanut butter and jelly. There's a lot of children at home. We use peanut butter and jelly, again, 12 months out of the year. Any size jar, any flavored jelly, grape, apple, it don't make any difference. We'll take any of it. We do not need sushi. The fish around here says, please cook me in lard. We don't need sushi. But we do need Pop-Tarts. Children at home, they eat Pop-Tarts. We need Pop-Tarts all the time. We do not need used tires. That may come as a surprise to some folks, but Norman has decided to bring his used tires around his belly. That's where he hauls his all the time. Send checks to the Christian Food Bank of Salemburg, P.O. Box 134, Salemburg, North Carolina, 28385. And Norman has a little note there that says cash is as good as money. So that's how you can help us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being on with us today. On the show, we've got a very interesting discussion going on, and it's so critical for you to understand that on the breaks, sometimes we get into a conversation because it just doesn't end when we take a break. Coming back from this break, we're going to pick up on a conversation that we started talking about in the previous segment. And folks, this was about the whole leadership thing with public education. And Dr. Wesley Johnson, superintendent, and Dr. Linda Brunson, the chair of the board here, you guys have been in that position for some time, that kind of leadership role in the community. How critically, for people that maybe you're thinking about going into education as a teacher or something, or I don't care if they're dumping the trash cans, you're going into the education world. That's a huge step because you are role modeling what maybe a child sees. You touched on it a bit, Linda, a while ago about the classroom and that teacher and that child is looking at that teacher. And if that teacher gets angry and throws a pencil across the room, let's start there. What about the psychology of that? How do you look at it when we think about, well, teachers in a classroom, you need to understand this is what's going to be expected of you. It's not just people out on the street, that carry guns that's facing issues all the time. It's educators as well. Start there.
I think if we realize that our teachers are human beings as well, right? They have issues as well. They have family issues, maybe financial issues or personal issues that we ask that, self-care. We ask them to take good care of themselves, think about, they need some rest and they don't need to work all the time. They need to take a break. So I think those people who are truly teachers at heart, not, I'll call them paycheck personnel, but those people who come to work to make a difference in the lives of children, right? They're likely not to throw the pencil at the child because the child probably has some issues as well, could have some issues as well. So I think our true teachers, those people who have that calling to be an educator and to be in that classroom or to be in that building in whatever position that they have, are less likely to do those kinds of things. And again, teachers do have things that they bring to school with them, but I think when they open that classroom door, they get out of that car in that parking lot, they leave those things behind and come in and do what is expected of them, is to give those children in front of them 110% of themselves throughout the day. If they do have an issue, go talk with your principal or your assistant principal, or we have counselors in our schools, and the counselors are not just for children. If you need to go see a counselor, we provide those wraparound supports for our staff as well. But it's highly important that if you're there for the right reason, those things are less likely to happen.
Wesley, when you're hiring people and you're looking at folks, here today, I just wanted to open a big door for you to speak to everybody. If you're thinking about being in public education, if you think about working with the Clinton City Schools or any of the school districts in North Carolina, what do you need to understand mentally before you even walk through that door, whether it's the door of the classroom or whether it's the door to creating the credentials? You can have the credentials, but you might not be ready to walk through the door. Tell us what you're looking for, because you're the guy that kind of signs off that this person is going to be okay for math, or this person's going to be okay for geography, or whatever it may be. What are you looking for? What is that spark that causes you to say, yeah, this is going?
I think Dr. Brunson did a good job of noting it in her last comment. The whole time she was talking, what came to my mind was, education, it is a profession, but it's not really a profession. Educators are called to be educators. It's a calling. It's placed on your life. You don't wake up every day and just, you are called to that role. Right. Luckily for me, Mr. JW, I've had the privilege of living with an educator. My wife is a teacher and has been a teacher now for 25 years. Not only that, we've had the pleasure of raising a young lady who is also called to be an educator. There's just a difference that they have. It's just this internal desire to want to do and to please and to do more and to you said earlier in a conversation you were talking to Dr. Brunson about being a servant leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
All educators desire to be servant leaders. We're there to serve the children. We're there to give back. She talked about mental health. I had this little clip that I put up the other day at Convocation that talked about you can't overflow unless your cup is full. So it's important as an educator to find things that fill your own cup. Maybe that's you like to work out, or you like to read, or you like to go to the beach. You have to do those things so that your cup is continually filled so that you can overflow. I talked one time, this is a biblical word, about being a drink offering. Yeah. You're going to pour out yourself daily to those kids. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to be absolutely give out, be tired when you go home, but you've got to find those things that fill that cup back up, because you've got the role to come back and do it again. The second thing that came in my mind when Dr. Brunson was speaking is, and it's of monumental importance, I learned this from, I think, Mr. Gary Weeks, but we are in loco parentis of that child. That means that we are that child's parent from 7:45 to 3 o'clock to 3:30. And I need to treat that child just like I would treat Inslee, Evan, and Emory. And that's the way that I've lived for 28 years of being an educator. Is I'm going to treat every child like their last name is Johnson, because I wouldn't want someone to do something to my child that I wouldn't want to do to every child in Clinton City Schools. And so that's kind of my mantra. That's a mantra that I would say to anyone who's desiring to be an educator is, number one, that it's a calling. And number two, that when you're here on our campus, you're going to treat this child just like it's your own child. If you don't have children, you treat it like it's your sibling. You treat it like it's your favorite nephew or niece. You treat that child because that is somebody's child, and we're going to treat that child, like we would treat our own.
Let me answer that, if you don't mind. When I was a principal, when I was hiring teachers, my son's name is Brunson. And as I interviewed and made decisions about hiring teachers or anybody that worked at Ball Avenue School, I would think if they left the room, like, now if I wouldn't put Brunson in that room, I'm not going to put anybody else's child in that room either, right? So you have to think about it as what's good for your children would be good for their children, right? So you look at it, I took it personally, right? And I would say to people that maybe didn't make the mark that, I wouldn't want my child in your classroom. Yeah. So therefore, I can't put someone else's child in your classroom either. We'll go back to a convocation that we had the other day. We had several great speakers, but one person talked about teaching. A teacher is the light of the world for the children that she or he teaches. The light of the world. You think about that. That was strong. Really deep. That's strong. It's still sticking with me that, we're the light of the world for the children that we serve. And another teacher talked about the why. Why are you in this business? I spoke with the beginning teachers one day last week, and one thing I said to them was, the passion that brought you here today, that was before the first day of school. School starts Monday. But the passion that brought you here today should motivate you as you stay in this profession. Now, they may not stay 33 years or 28 years like we have done, but for whatever tenure they're there, that passion that brought them there, something brought them there, that why should sustain them while they were in our classrooms with our children.
Wesley, you get this a lot too, I'm sure, is that you have the right person that credentialed, had all the kind of expectations, but something kind of gets a little bit wiry in that classroom, and you're the person who has to step in and try to figure out what's going on. Do you find occasionally the person that looked well on paper maybe didn't work out in that classroom, and you have to make some adjustments?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely time. Unfortunately, those things do happen. Dr. Brunson noted earlier in a previous segment, that teachers are people too. And that, unfortunately, sometimes educators have bad days. We have to be very mindful of that, and very mindful of looking beyond actions to try to figure out what was the purpose, or what happened, or what transpired, and was there a reason why that, that happened? So, we're not going to, there's some things that are just, you just have to just move on, immoral, unethical. What's the other one, Dr. Brunson?
Illegal.
Yeah. I mean, we
ding.
Yeah, we've got to move on.
Yeah.
But if it's something that we can get past, to, have our school level administration to work with them, to work on a individual growth plan, because we all have growth plans, and we're all trying to grow and be better, and to have a little bit of grace. You talked about in the world of social media, and just I think in our culture in general, that grace is kind of, that's a word that we don't hear a lot anymore, but we all make mistakes.
Yeah, we need to underline that one, I think.
Yeah, and we've got to understand that, that sometimes it's just a bad day. And so there is, on my little convocation thing, I had another one that said, every day is a new day. And so every day gives you another second chance. And so we've got to take that mantra and try to get better. What will we say? 1% better every day.
And I think that's the kind of the leadership mentality. And I'm hoping people are hearing and processing this as I am sitting here with you today. They should look at what we're talking about today, and they're hearing from the leadership in Clinton City Schools, and the leadership throughout, I'm sure, has some of these same principles. The takeaway for this segment, as I want to kind of give folks a takeaway for me, is there's three words that kept coming to mind, and that's caring, compassion, and I'm going to underline this one twice: love. Not only for what you do, but for that person in that classroom, that human being, whether they're 6 years old, or whether they're 18, or whatever their background may be. And in the last segment, I want to talk a bit about extending this, and also talk about what's happening and what folks need to know about Clinton City Schools for this coming school year. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned. We should know's on there. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
How can your friend save you money? It's easy. Refer a relative, coworker, neighbor, or friend to Star Communications. Friend signs up for high-speed internet service. Friend's new account is confirmed. Friend gives your name to our service representative as the one who referred them to Star. You receive a $30 internet credit. It's just that simple. And even better, receive a $30 internet credit for every referral that results in a new confirmed account. High-speed internet from Star Communications. Refer a friend today.
We find in life that some things just go together. Like peanut butter and jelly, cheese and crackers, steak and potatoes, and of course, milk and cookies. But the bottle and the throttle are never a good combination. Be smart. Be safe. Be responsible. Don't drink and drive.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. We're coming up on the last part of the show today. The name of the show is We Should Know. It airs on Tuesdays at 2:30. It's live on Tuesday at 2:30. Again, this is Star Communications TV Channel 16, but it's also simulcast on WCLN Radio. Replay at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, Thursdays on Star Communications Channel 16. And then it's uploaded to YouTube, so you can go in. No matter where you're at in the world, if you want to call somebody, send them the link to it and they see the show. If they're in another country, we've had folks do that. Send it to folks and take a look at it. We're trying to stay on track today with two folks that know a lot about something called education, and particularly public education. And that's Dr. Linda Brunson, who is the chair of the Clinton City School Board, and superintendent of the Clinton City Schools, Dr. Wesley Johnson. We talked about your track records. We talked about the teachers in the classroom. We talked about a number of things. I want to kind of open this segment and then go wherever you guys want to go. But clearly, there's enough we could have a series. We could do a semester, Linda. So, but clearly, I want to kind of talk about this year going into 25 and 26, what that looks like. And Dr. Johnson, I'll start with you. Kind of kick us into gear here, what Clinton City Schools is looking at, what folks should suspect, and what that rumbling noise in the background may be. It's not the air conditioner going out. What is it?
Well, as we talked at break, as you noted earlier, we do have some conversations at break, and Dr. Brunson would probably kick me if we didn't talk about this, but we're real excited about the YMCA and the partnership that we have developed to have a 21st century after school program. One of the things that Clinton has been known for years is a program called Blazing Stars that was a big part of our district in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, we lost those grant funds several years ago, actually before I became superintendent. And so we've had little iterations of the 21st century grant over time, but we are super excited that the present YMCA here in Clinton received a 4-year grant starting in 25-26 that's going to provide after school programming for right now 109 students, free after school programming for our students from like a 3:30 to 6 type program.
5 days a week.
Yeah, 5 days a week. So super excited to see that beginning. The first day of school, Monday, August the 11th. So that's super exciting to have that and to know that that's going to be a part of our DNA for the next several years.
Linda, I'm just sitting here. We've talked a lot on break about different things going on, but that's a tremendous program that seems to me that may be a model for the state, because I'm hearing a lot, children don't have anything to do after school. Sometimes they get caught in nefarious activities because they don't have any role modeling. There's nothing to do. This is huge.
Oh, absolutely. We have been trying, like Dr. Johnson said, we had Blazing Stars, and then we've had some other after school programs, but Blazing Stars is probably 20 years ago. But yeah, this is huge. This is right up there with the Blazing Stars. Wesley said there was 109 students already enrolled, and there was a waiting list already. So we're really looking forward to this for our K-5 students, and we're going to bus them from Carr and Butler to Sunset, and 3 to 6 o'clock Monday through Friday. I mean, that's a lot, and that will help our parents, those parents that are working. It will help the students. It will provide some part-time employment for some of our employees. They're not only just going to do, academic piece. There will be some reading and some math and those type things, but there will be some healthy choices and some physical activities for those children to do, some fun. Just fun activities. So we're excited. I mean, I just heard yesterday that there were 109 students already enrolled, and there was a waiting list. So it's just going to be multifaceted for how the people that it will help and the lives that will be changed as a result of this program. So we were a little bit afraid early in the summer because their funding had been cut, and I kept asking Dr. Johnson, what about the grant? What about the grant? Yeah. And we found out a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, that their money had been released. And they had told us from the very beginning, we're going to start the first day of school. Like, yeah, you probably will. But yeah, they're starting Monday, the first day of school. So we're excited.
It's happening. This thing is happening. Is this a model, or is there another model in the state? Is there anything like this going on that you're aware of?
Yeah, well, I would say absolutely. That 21st century grant has been around for many years. And what has transpired over time, Mr. JW, is that whereas monies had kind of flowed to school systems similar to the Blazing Stars program, it's now more to 501c3s, nonprofits, YMCA type boys and girls clubs who are able to make use of these funds and to not only instill academics like Dr. Brunson talked about, but other types of activities as well for these students, and to give them an opportunity to learn different resources and have time just to spend doing some activities. And I think that that's very important. getting to another thing, this isn't necessarily in the 25-26 school year, but something that we've been working on and now finally starting to roll a little bit is, and you don't hear about this very often in school districts, but is the working to build a new school. And so we've not had a new school since Clinton High School was built. And so that's been over 20 years ago. And so we're very, very excited that we are looking at bringing two schools together as one school. So presently, we have a pre-kindergarten, kindergarten school at LCK, and then we have a first and second grade school at Butler Avenue.
Right.
And as I talked earlier about when you've been through the situation as a parent, you understand it a little bit more. So not all of our kids go to pre-kindergarten. Many of them just start in kindergarten. And so you started a school, and after 1 year, it's time to transition and go to another school.
Yeah.
And that's not, I mean, it's not bad, but when you can follow a child for 2 or 3 years and they have a home that they feel like, you know, I've not just left after 1 year. This is my school. It's my home. So we're real excited about looking couple years in the future, bringing LCK and Butler Avenue and now having a pre-K through second grade school. So that will be our students' home for 3 or 4 years, and they won't have to make that transition. And I actually talked to a kindergarten teacher of mine, Casey Avery, and she said it's very difficult to see the kids leave after 1 year because they leave and you really don't see them again.
That's right. And he just started.
That's right.
But if they're in the same building, you know, and even though it's going to be a massive building, I mean, we're talking about probably 950 to 1,000 kids in this one building. You still have them there. They're still touchable. You can still watch them as they matriculate to first grade, on to second grade, and you get to, you know, form those relationships with them and get to see them as they grow a little bit. We're super, super excited about that as
Linda,
well.
I'm sitting here, you and I are making contact. we're doing the visual things. I'm going, wow, that's a lot of students. And we're talking a huge facility.
Yes.
What do we have? You know, I got to ask this question. Do we have location in mind?
We can't discuss it right now, but yes, we do.
She knew that was coming. I had to ask that.
We have a couple of locations in mind, but of course that's a little bit premature to talk about that. But absolutely, we have locations in mind, and we're excited. Dr. Johnson was talking about being there for 1 year, like in first grade, and then you got to go to Butler, and then you have to go to Sunset. So we are a small district, of course, but it does give you an opportunity, I'll say, to see them from the freshman to the senior year, even when they're in elementary school. You see them grow and learn their parents and what their needs are and how to, you know, satisfy those needs. So yeah, we're excited. It's a couple of years down the road, but we had to start somewhere. So we've already hired an architect. We're in the early planning stages, but yeah, we're excited.
You realize I'm going to get some calls. I'm just going to deflect them to your number and to your number. Okay,
Everybody already has our numbers.
but that's great news. I think it's good news to put out there so people can start just kind of processing. We've got a couple of minutes here left before we have to go to close. So I want to kind of give you an opportunity here for last thoughts or what have you. And I'll start with you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. We always love to talk about Clinton City Schools. That's innate. That's in our hearts. And so invite us back if you want to do that as time goes on. But thank you for having me. Absolutely. It's my first time. I understand Dr. Johnson is an expert, so I'm a novice at this, but I really enjoyed it. We always want to talk about what we're doing in our district. We're not where we want to be. We're always looking to improve. So when you said something about our phone numbers, I think everybody probably already has our phone numbers, but you know how to contact us. And I want to thank the community, the opportunity to thank the community and the parents and the students and the staff for their hard work. This is a job that you cannot do alone. It's not the Board of Education or the superintendent or the superintendent's cabinet. It's all of us. We all have to keep the best interests of the children in the forefront of our thinking, but it takes all of us to make this work. So we always invite suggestions for improvements and how we can get better at what we do. And again, thank you.
Absolutely. Wesley, big plans for city schools. This lady's going to hold you to task, I can tell you. I'm going to let you kind of last thoughts here. We've got about 30 seconds.
All right. Absolutely. So our theme this year 2025-26, we're going to continue with one dark horse, but we're going to add a semicolon, premier driven. And so our desire is to be the premier district in the Sand Hills Southeast. We work very hard. I want to say that I'm very, very proud of all of our students, our educators, our community, our parents, all of our supporters, stakeholders. We've got a great, great community, a great, great district, and I look forward to a fabulous school year.
Well, we want to thank both of you for being here and being our guest. Linda, you will have a door open anytime you want it, obviously. I always love having you on. Even if he's not with you, we'll have you on, okay?
Thank you.
But the thing is, education is such intrinsically part of our life, and we've got to stay tuned for it. So I'm excited with what we've heard just in the last segment. I think a lot of folks are excited that you guys are staying the course, and I appreciate you being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you again right here for We Should Know. And as always, may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host JW Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.